Now let's get the views of Yanos Kontopoulos. He's Group Chief Investment Officer at Eurobank EFG. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Lindsay.
We talk a lot about these theoretical issues, trade balances, how do you deal with these global imbalances. But the fact is, anything that the G20 decides will have a concrete impact on a lot of the European companies. Are you concerned that it's exporters, such as Siemens, that will bear the brunt of what's going on?
I don't think that's going to be particularly the case, primarily because the market has started already adjusting to the supposed message that G20 is going to give us. I think for the time being anyway, they're agreeing to disagree. So it's the market's work that's going to do the rest. And as such, at least in the process we have seen thus far, companies appear to be handling the exchange rate pressures relatively well. And the main reason is because of global growth. Global growth is the major factor in whether you do well or bad. And as long as that part of the equation is doing well, FX is a second-order phenomenon.
But Yanos, actually, a lot of the companies have to look east to grow. I mean, if you look at the banks, for example, it's the HSBCs and Standard Charters that are doing better because they're the growth market. If you focus on Europe, you're not going to do great, are you?
I definitely agree, and but that's not really a matter of foreign exchange. So, but again, if we take a more general picture, if the rest of the world does well, it will essentially, through a rebalancing process of growth, help also the laggards in growth, which is basically the developed markets, do relatively well. And that's the whole bet for the global economy.
Yanos, what do you make of the fact that, President Obama says, well, we had to do this QE, but essentially if the US does well, the world will do well as well. Is this passé?
I would probably think of it in slightly different terms. We had to do this QE so that the rest of the world would do even better and pull us out, and we will continue to do well. So we are all in this together, but certainly I think it's probably wrong to think of the US as the main leader in growth, in this cycle at least.
How concerned are you about the sovereign debt crisis? In Europe, we have these high yields, and it looks like actually we're practically in the same position as we were 8 months ago.
That's true. This is an issue that's not going to go away very quickly. And it will take, in essence, very strict fiscal policy from all parties involved. In the process, it's not going to look very nice. And partly, I mean, in this last phase of the drama, I would say, a lot of the pressure has been caused by the Europeans themselves. So I think that with a little bit of backpedaling...
Caused by themselves? I mean, they're cutting deficits and they are putting austerity measures quite severely.
That's the good part. The bad part is, I think, the recent discussion with respect to the future of EFSF and the whole discussion about bail-in. And I'm hopeful, rather, that when we get to December and when we have the next summit at the leaders' meeting, they will be able to backpedal and understand that this is not really the right time to discuss about this issue. And if they do, we should probably have economists talking about it rather than lawyers and politicians.
Yanos, thank you so much. Yanos Kontopoulos there.
Thanks.
Well, coming